walk by.
Rough on the chair.
So what I'm going to do...
Oh, you're from Canada too. Is that not funnier?
Yeah, it's
okay. Is that okay that I'm telling you what to do? I'm directing this show now.
Oh, it's down there.
I'm making it so hard for you, sorry.
No, it's groovy, it's groovy.
Oh, it's funny.
What's the future? No, you're in the
That's
UK.
an insane
You're in
question
the
to ask
UK.
me. I've never known the answer to that at any point in anything I've ever done. I have no idea.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the UK Americana Bar Show. Thank you for joining us. Orit Shimoni is a Canadian singer-songwriter of folk music. She's on a recent tour in Europe and she popped into the UK to our studios, give us a great interview. What a gal. Tell us all about her new album and her inspirations from around the world. She does a bit of painting and she does a little bit of book writing as well. Great. Check her out, Orit Shimoni. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the UK American Bar Show. We've been trying to get this young lady on the show for over a couple of years now. Orit Shimoni.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Thank you for coming on the show. We do appreciate it.
It's exciting to finally be here. It's been a very long time.
It has.
Yeah.
We've been texting and on and off for the last couple of years, and a little pandemic sneaked in, so
Just
you couldn't
a
get
little
over.
sidestep, yeah.
But you've been a very busy girl.
It's the only way to survive. Yeah, mentally and physically. So yeah.
So let's start.
One.
Let's get stuck in. We've got so much to ask you. I mean, I am your number one fan. I'm a big fan of yours.
You've been very, very kind. I have to say, like, I wish there was a thing on social media where you could like the person's like, just to indicate that. I do notice when you are attentive
I'm
to
all
my
over the
posts.
place.
Yeah.
You're such a storyteller. I mean, you're really, really good. Joan Baez, I think we talked about earlier. You've got similarities to her.
No problem with that comparison.
Have you heard that on your route?
A few people like at shows that I've done have come up to me and said, "You remind me of Joan Baez." I'm like, "Okay, thank you."
Cool.
That's
Yeah, well,
great.
you really do. Really good.
Yeah.
You now preside in Canada.
Yeah.
And all I keep reading about you is that you're always all over Europe.
Yeah.
And you just told me that you touched America a few times
I've touched
recently.
America a few times in the last year, and I've always wanted to, but it's very tricky to do it as a Canadian artist. You have to legally get permission to perform there and earn money. Yeah. So it's tedious to get the paperwork in order, but once you do, it's sort of like a dream come true. All the music I grew up on comes from there.
Of course,
it's like going to Memphis and Nashville and all that. So
How do you find the audiences there?
Well, on this, the 2 American tours I did, I was opening for an American artist, that made it a lot easier.
Wow.
A fellow by the name of Dan Byrne, who's like a phenomenal songwriter and quite a monumental human being. So
you've got a great catalogue behind you. You've only done 12 albums.
12 albums, yeah. More
so
that's
like an album every year for you,
just
right?
about, yeah, not quite, but just about, yeah. I mean, there's always a lot to say, you know.
Well, yes, I mean, you really do say fantastic. I mean, I've listened to all your stuff all the time, and some of the albums. I wanted to ask you, is it an album or is it a song called Bananas?
Yes.
Haha, gotcha. Because that's probably one of the ones that people don't talk about, but that really stands out. It's, I mean, your music is Americana. It's a lot of folk, a little bit of jazz.
A little bit of jazz, a little bit of blues, a little bit of soul. Figure out what to do there.
We're not editing anything out of this.
We're going to have a 4-hour special. Let's do it.
Yeah, so Bananas.
Yeah.
So, as I say, God, what does it remind me of? And you've got a bit of saxophone in there as well. It's very, I likened stuff which is kind of Americana, folky, bluesy, to like Willie Nelson. He used to go off on tangents.
I am not married to a genre at all. I've never been. It's just, there's a sort of default situation when you're traveling with an acoustic guitar that, well, I guess it's folk or Americana. But I mean, my inspiration comes from other forms as well.
Yeah, the sound is amazing that you're getting. Yeah. Well, I like that. And you've got a new album out.
I do.
Which is?
It's called Winnipeg.
And, I mean, you did the picture on the front.
I did.
So you're a painter as well?
I didn't know I was, but I had to come up with ways to express myself in isolation. So I
like the pandemic, the lockdown, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I mean, apart from this music, as I say, I know you're touring over, and you're in the UK at the moment, which is great. That's one of the reasons why. Yeah. I know you do used to come back before the pandemic quite a lot.
I hadn't been to the UK though much because it's also a country that needs paperwork to get into.
Yes, it does seem to get a bit harder, doesn't it, to go into places these days, which is a right shame.
But it's really about where I have connections to play some shows. So I mean, I will basically go anywhere as long as someone says, like, here's some places where you could play.
I was introduced to you by Rob Ellen.
Yeah.
Who, when he started out, he was in a truck. I think he was getting everyone in the back of the truck, all these artists. and
sounds so dodgy.
I know, that it sounds good, doesn't it?
Get
and
the van.
Interviewing them and now all that. Well, now, I come off the phone to him yesterday. He's working on a couple of festivals and this, that and the other. He's really, really gone up. But he was my inspiration to meeting you. And ever since that day, you know, I've just been hooked.
Hell, there's no director, are you kidding me? There's nobody behind me, and the stage just scenery. The stage just scenery. I got some good ideas, I guess, but I'm having trouble getting up and getting dressed, and I just want a little more support. You know, I'm fine, I'm just a little out of sorts. There's one voice is dealing with it.
Something else I've got to ask you, this is really crazy, but you're also a writer, but you've got a book out about the noise of a pub.
Not a book. It's an essay. I'm sort of. I was writing a lot of essays and blogs, and I've been working on a book because I lived out of a suitcase for 11 years straight. So naturally, I have quite a lot of stories, being that nomadic. But I'm finding it very difficult to create enough quiet isolation. I know that's a funny word to use nowadays, but like where I could really just work on the book. But I've always got the music stuff
in the background.
I've got to keep that going, otherwise it all falls apart and I get no income. So I thought I should go back to essay form, and I found a website called Substack where you can have people subscribe to your posts, your written posts. So I can do my long form writing that
It's such a great topic, isn't it? The importance of noise in a pub.
Yeah.
I mean, because there really is.
Well, it's just like as a performer, and especially as a solo performer, and especially as a female solo performer, and a songwriter whose texts are very important as well to me and hopefully to the audience. It's not the natural choice for a performance venue. You want a listening room. You want a venue where
a lot of artists say that it's nice, not just cozy, but they can reach the audience there.
It's the goal. I mean, if my career trajectory started and ended with noisy pub gigs, I'd be in trouble. That's not where I want to be as a.
I think I read somewhere that you was playing at a gig recently, and the football was on. But it was still being acknowledged.
Because it had been so long since I'd done that kind of gig, it was just this marvelous nostalgic reconnection with it. Because having to play those kinds of gigs really toughened me up as a performer. They gave me much more presence, because if you always play listening audiences, you can stay quite soft. You're from Canada? You want me to sign it? I'd love to. To Sasquatch. Bernie's Sasquatch. Bernie the Sasquatch. Or eat. There you go.
Yeah.
And if you play in more challenging environments, you have to toughen up. You have to learn how to command attention.
Yeah.
That made me a much, much better singer.
And Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters said exactly the same thing. Yeah. You have to go through this.
You got to pay your dues.
Yeah. It's hard work, but at the end it does pay off.
And, like I said, if you're in a band, if you're even a duo and you play in a noisy pub, you kind of have each other. But when you're by yourself, it's much, much more challenging. And also, I think it's kind of like awkward potentially for the audience. Like, what do we do with this person? And then especially hate to say it, but when I would walk into these bars with my acoustic guitar, and I just see people going like, "Oh, geez, do we have to be polite? Do we have to? What's she going to do? How good is this going to be?" And then to know that I'm going to surprise them and go,
"Yes, you are fantastic." Is that what I said?
That's a great way to.
How do you? I know you love this country a lot when you come over. I know you do, because I know the places that you've been, the festival, the theatre, so on and so forth. So, I mean. Where do you... I always ask artists this, which seems a bit silly, but I have to ask you. So where do you get your inspiration? Because you are a storyteller of stories, rather than love songs, which is The Moon, A Heart, whatever.
Yeah,
but
I've got some of those too. Yeah.
Where does it come from? Canada?
No, there isn't like a location. I mean, that's hard to answer on one foot, as they say, but it's a combination, I think, of I've got a very busy mind. There's always a lot of conversations going on in it at the same time, and a lot of them are just internal, like myself with myself, processing. I'm just processing my own experiences, political experiences, what's happening in the world. That's a huge part of what I'm responding to as a writer. And then as I travel,
there's a lot to talk about today, isn't there?
Oh yeah, but they're always, if you're from Jerusalem, there's no shortage of things going on, stories, and also just like pain to transcend, and a real drive to kind of find some kind of humanitarian way to reach people.
That's what you get in your when you listen to your songs.
Yeah, well,
I mean, all the write-ups from all over the world, they're saying the same thing. Very engaging, must hear.
It's critical.
This new album that you've got, we would talk about the other 12, which are all great albums, by the way, especially the Bananas one, which I like.
That's on this one.
That is on here. So, where did you record this stuff?
In Winnipeg.
In Winnipeg, in Canada?
In Canada. Winnipeg is the city I got...
all the albums there?
No, not at all. I'm not from Winnipeg at all. I got stranded there.
Things to you.